Here is where I get to set my spirit free. Here is where I find my naturality. Where are we going?
Where are we going? Today, many international students and first-year students may feel a disconnect with the transition from high school to college. With everything being virtual and online, it can be hard to socially connect with others on campus. Today, I have the undergraduate lead advisor, Erica Benhart, today discussing more on this topic. Hi, Erica.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So tell me more about your positions on campus.
So I have a couple positions on campus, the main position being I'm a lead college advisor with the undergraduate colleges, which just means there are 6 undergraduate colleges, each have their own advisor or advisors, but I actually advise students across all 6 undergraduate colleges. So I'm not affiliated with a specific UGC, so I have the opportunity to work with all of the first-year students during their first year. I also coordinate Stony Brook's National Student Exchange Program, which allows students to exchange to other universities within the U.S. or U.S. territories.
So tell me more about the National Student Exchange Program. Like, what are the benefits that students can get from that?
So it's a study away program, similar to study abroad. It's just a different option that gives students over 170 different opportunities to study away within the U.S. or U.S. territories such as Guam, Puerto Rico, or the U.S. Virgin Islands. We also have some universities in Canada. Students can spend a semester, an academic year, or even longer studying at one or more of those universities. They still get to take their courses that they would take as if they were here. So courses for their major, their SBCs, perhaps a minor. They can also still participate in internships and research, but they also maybe have access to other courses that we don't offer here at Stony Brook, like dog mushing or ice climbing or scuba diving. And so they get that study away experience, allowing them to immerse themselves into new cultures, which certainly exist within the U.S., so you don't necessarily have to go abroad to get that experience. It's very affordable. You either pay what you pay to go here at Stony Brook, or you can pay that university's in-state tuition and fees.
So talking more about the financial aid aspect, are there any resources or financial aid that can come with this program to help students who may not be able to afford all the funds?
Yes, absolutely. So any student participating in National Student Exchange still has access to all of their federal aid, regardless of what plan they go on. If they go on the home plan payment, then they have access to not only their federal aid, but also their New York State aid and any scholarships that they have received, so they don't lose any of their funds. And sometimes, depending on where they go, the cost of that in-state tuition at their host university could be significantly cheaper, so they could actually be saving themselves some money, especially for our international and out-of-state students. They have the opportunity to pay in-state tuition for a semester, a year, or possibly longer, depending on where they decide to go.
So as an undergraduate college advisor, I'm guessing you work with a lot of first-year students. Mm-hmm. Have you seen any challenges brought up within the first-year students that you're working with?
So yes, I oversee advising for approximately like 3,400 students. Anytime you have a transition in life, it's challenging, and especially in the world today, I think it presents more challenges. So when you're making a transition, and there's several transitions first-year students are going through, one being that transition from high school to college, another one being their transition from working with high school teachers, and now they're working with college faculty and staff. You're making that transition from knowing your community and your culture to coming to a new community and culture. Even if you're still virtual, it's still trying to navigate your way through a new environment. Immersing yourself into the unknown is always challenging. So it's how do you familiarize yourself with the resources on campus, with your peers that are here, not only the your incoming first-year students, but also the new faculty and staff, and then getting to know just not, like I said, not your fellow students, but also all of the resources that are here to help you make those transitions.
So with the new environment change, we're seeing things become more virtual and online. How would you suggest for a more introverted first-year student to kind of put themselves out there and kind of get involved and not just kind of stay cooped up in their dorm?
So I almost think this new hybrid model that the university has adapted with both virtual and non-virtual experiences kind of lends itself to more introverted students because it allows you to take more of a baby step approach to things. So for example, in your 101 class, your camera doesn't necessarily have to be on. And so a more introverted student might be more comfortable attending class, attending events, maybe signing up for a club or organization, knowing that people aren't going to be necessarily looking at them. They can kind of keep their camera off, kind of lay low, and then as they become more comfortable, as the weeks go on, they get to know their fellow students in their classes, they get to know the other students in the clubs. Maybe they're seeing the same students at the events that they're attending, and as they become more comfortable, maybe they'll decide to start turning their camera on. Maybe they'll decide to start reaching out to those other students in their classes and events and clubs saying, can we connect in other ways besides just in these ways? So I almost think the hybrid model might lend itself to these more introverted students as long as they are willing to take that initiative and take those baby steps to make those connections with not only their peers, but also the staff and faculty teaching their classes and putting on those programs and events and helping run the clubs and organizations.
So similar question for the international students. There could be a disconnect there coming from a different country and kind of maybe not knowing anybody on campus. So what are any advice or tips for them?
So specifically for international students, I think, the time zone presents a challenge. If your class that usually meets at 1 p.m. here meets at 1 a.m. in your home country, that is difficult. We encouraged our international students to try and enroll in as many asynchronous courses because then you don't necessarily have a specific meeting date and time. I think it's important for them to still connect and try to attend events and try to join clubs and organizations that maybe meet, say, in the evening, so that's the mornings for them, not the middle of the night. I know as an undergraduate college advising program, we have specifically created evening hours or early morning hours so that we're more accessible to those international students. And I think some of the events that we're putting on, whether they're during the week or on the weekends, are also trying to be planned earlier in the morning and later in the evening so that they can be more accessible to those students. So we reach out to them, encourage them to try to do that as much as possible. But then also, we still have, it's a virtual experience, but there's still the English PAL program, which is where an international student gets paired up with a domestic student, and it's beneficial to both students. The international student gets paired up with a domestic student to specifically work on their English skills, but also learn about the culture here in the United States. But then that domestic student also gets to learn whatever the native language of that international student is and learn about their culture and their way of life. So it's a great program. Again, it's the English PAL program. There's a lot of information on the website, so I'd encourage all international students, specifically the first-year students, to look into that.
That's great. So talking more about financial aid for international students, a lot of them are staying home in their home country, but enrolled in Stony Brook courses, and the fees kind of clash because they're not on campus, and they may be having to pay technology fees. So any advice or resources to help them with that?
Absolutely. So if you're a F1 student who's actually on campus, you're able to work on campus. So students who are here on an F1 visa can work on campus, and I would encourage them all to utilize the Career Center for that purpose. They will help them find a job on campus. I definitely encourage them to look for private scholarships that they can apply for, and then kind of going back to and taking advantage of promoting my own program with National Student Exchange, they can go study at another university within the U.S. and pay in-state tuition for a year or possibly more, as long as they keep intact with their residency credits here at the university.
Thank you. So a more personal question, how important do you think it is to stay socially connected during this pandemic?
So I'm going to kind of expand on that. I think it's important to stay connected socially. I think it's important to stay connected personally and academically. So kind of those are the three levels that we look at as a first-year program. We want students to be successful in all three of those levels. And we realize it can be difficult, especially with a hybrid model. And so the advisors in our unit are very proactive about reaching out to students and trying to meet them at the level, whether it's email, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, texting even sometimes, to let them know about all of the opportunities that are going on campus for them to connect, and most of the time virtually. A great example is an event that's going on this week. It's the Undergraduate College's Spirit Week. It's an event every day for 6 days. It's a competition, since there are 6 undergraduate colleges, to see which one is the best. And all of the events are virtual. All of the events are in the evening. So if you are an international student, it would be in the morning for you, but not the middle of night, which we thought was important. Yeah. We had a color challenge where you could take pictures and tag our Instagram account of you wearing your UGC color. We had a coffee house. We had bingo. We had a trivia night. Tonight's the video game tournament. It's not too late to sign up, although you won't see this till next week, so never mind. But it's making sure that we have programs for them to engage with each other. It's the 101 classes, specifically for first-year students and international first-year students. These classes only have approximately 18 students. We do a lot of icebreakers in these classes, a lot of team builders in these classes. It's a great way to get connected to the staff member teaching the class and those 18 other peers in your class with you. And then we encourage them constantly to check out SB Engaged and check out the 386 clubs and organizations that we have on campus for them to join that are meeting in a virtual way. So they shouldn't feel like, because it's a hybrid experience with virtual and in-person, that they're limited. There's still all of these opportunities, and it's our job to make sure they know they exist and are taking advantage of them.
Thank you so much, Erica.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining me. I'm really glad that you came and to help international and first-year students get connected on campus.
Thank you so much for having me.
Don't turn around, just keep moving forward.